I'm sorry, ma'am, we can't hear from your side.
That's why, yeah, so if everybody, I know this is a little awkward, but let's try to let these folks get in on it, and then we'll pursue.
Here, instead of doing the roundabout.
Do they have any specific questions that they want to ask about their property? I'll affect either way.
Okay, so I was trying to, or explaining to them about the four-way stop, because she's not happy of the fact that, even looking at this, she's losing most of the property, and she's not happy with that. So I'm explaining to her that we are talking about taking away from, to line it up if we do the four-way stop, to line it up from the south, like, Darren's spot.
West side.
So, yeah. So that's what I was explaining to her. So she's actually asking the same thing too, is why, if we're trying to line that up, why does it have to be? Because it seems like either way that we go about this, the roundabout or the four-way stop, it looks like, and she sees that she's losing most of her property. She's losing most of the property because all the other ones are not losing that much. That's what her concern is.
And she knows she'll be compensated.
Yeah, we explain that to her.
Yeah.
She does know.
I don't see that on the picture.
See here,
Well, I think it looks on
we're talking about.
the picture like it's very similar to what Darren, it looks like it's very similar to what would be shaved off of Darren's property.
Yeah, I agree, Mayor. Those dimensions are very similar.
I guess the issue, I know we talked about safety 3 years ago, and we were told there was a safe way to do a light, there was a safe way to do a roundabout. The problem I still have, I don't think roundabouts in general are unsafe. I do think that they're an unfamiliar thing for pedestrians to use. The one, I drive that roundabout on 199 every day now. It's not bad to me. I know other people don't like it as much, but at the same time, nobody ever knows what to do. But sometimes it's flashing red, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's yellow, and everybody just sort of
Sometimes
does whatever they want. So, you know, my opinion would still be that people understand stop signs. If we could, and I appreciate not wanting to encroach too much on Darren's building, but at the same time, I'm worried about, and I'm glad they're here tonight, Hugh and Betty Gallion, because we've got a roundabout that is going to be 22 feet 7 inches from their property, and that's just the roundabout portion, not the other portions of the right-of-way that further encroach. And so to have them that far from it, that close to it,
we never allowed to build it.
right, I mean, honestly, I don't think that they would have ever, they or their builder would have built a house that close to it to start with. And so to me, if we've got a business owner that's eager to give his up, and we're basically creating something that's almost like a non-conformance for one of these people anyway, I'd rather it be a non-conformance for the business owner that's eager to do it, and then be for a homeowner that's actually going to be there in the middle of the night if a car, you know, misses it and has to turn at the last minute and winds up in their yard. And that's just me personally. And so I think if we did that, we'd avoid taking more than we need of the Longoria's property. And, you know, we'd have one property owner that would be thrilled to give it up. And then we'd have, you know, the other thing we hear about stop signs is, you know, that people aren't used to it or that they're not going to see it. I'll tell you right now, I don't particularly trust that stop sign if I'm coming on Yale, that now that it's a four-way stop. I wait until they stop on Meandering, but we're going to be tearing this road up for 2 years. We're going to be re-educating people as to what the road would be. So, I mean, to me, you know, I agreed that at this point, I thought 3 years ago a red light would be preferred. I still probably would, but I don't think we can spend $250,000 to do that. I do think there would be merit to a stop sign.
But you asked why it's come back up. Well, one, on their own drawing, they say they gotta have a 10-foot wide bike trail. They don't go 10-foot wide all the way. It narrows. So they're getting exemption there. the road is not legal width. They're getting an exemption there, so why can't we have some kind of exemption where we don't have to line this up perfectly? Maybe we line it up better, we make it a little better. I would rather have a light that kept meandering going and didn't change till somebody showed up on Yale, but if the stop sign's, I won't say the cheaper route, but more fit, better route we can afford at this time. So we could always put it in later.
Can you speak on that, Dan? I know you deal with a lot of...
There's a lot of information being exchanged, so I'm trying to keep track of.
So I think the main...
Let me just give you some points that I picked up on. First and foremost, I'm not sure that it's correct to represent Councilman Houck's willingness on any level to provide any right-of-way.
Okay.
So, we've gotten a lot of different responses over the last few years about that, including at the public meeting. He was very adamant about that, so I think we need to be very careful about representing what his position actually is. And
that's fair.
for the most part, let me just say, Mayor,
Okay.
impinging more upon his business, given all of the time, energy, and effort we have spent to try to mitigate what we can, I cannot imagine he would be happy about that. So
The
that's
only thing I'd like to say,
decide.
since he's not in here and can't talk about it because that's
Yeah.
what the attorney said, I don't
Yeah.
think, I'm just saying what he said on public record in that meeting 4 weeks ago. So if he turns around on that, then that's between him and you, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he said that on the record in a council chamber full of people, so I'm just referring to that.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, okay.
so, let's see, next comment or question.
I believe Councilman Claridge's, kind of the crux of his question was, with some of the other things that you've had a little bit of wiggle room in, is there any amount of wiggle room on making that line up perfectly? Or is there a little bit of room to
Well,
have...
we're far from perfectly. I think we have tried to, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but we have tried to find the balance between the least amount of right-of-way we could possibly take and making it as safe as possible. So we've said this throughout the study, we could have built proposed a much larger road, taken much larger right-of-way, but in every decision we've made, we have tried to minimize the impact on the community. So we don't have a perfect alignment at this point. So I think that's a fair representation of it, Jill, that we're not aligned like we would really like to be, but we're aligned as much as we think it needs to be safe and not take any additional right-of-way.
Okay. But is that something that y'all can look at, to what degree you could move the northern end to the west?
Basically moving Yale, effectively moving Yale further west?
Yes. And leaving the south...
Let's leave the signal light out of the discussion for now, just say it's just the stop sign.
And leaving the south basically as is and trying to move the north
We'll get some
over
minor exceptions to it.
as much as possible.
So, you can jump in, but you're going to have to acquire right-of-way somewhere. The size of the interchange isn't going to get intersection's not going to get any smaller. We're basically as small as we think we can be for what we're trying to accommodate. So, moving it one way or the other takes more right-of-way from somebody else. Smaller. You're going from 4 lanes to 3. It is, the intersection is.
No,
my point is, where we put this intersection is not going to change the geometrics or the size of it. If you're trying to straighten something and you gain an extra 12 foot. If we move it east or west, we're going to take the right on the west side and left on the east. So, I mean, right, Joe, I mean, we can't make it any smaller.
Right, but if you put a stop sign, you wouldn't be, if you put a stop sign and you moved west from the north, you wouldn't be needing nearly as much of these folks right away, would
Which is
you?
what they prefer, a stop sign.
Okay.
So,
If you look at the western edge of Yale on the southern approach, heading northbound, if you follow that edge of pavement north to the